I wanted to do a video today because of what I had seen in the news recently. Um, I didn't do it right away because I was too angry to be calm. In Bangladesh, there was a man with an LGBT magazine that was murdered. He was hacked to pieces by Islamists for going against their teachings. This is happening a lot in Bangladesh, and it's not being reported in our news here. We also have in Sweden, the refugee centers are allowing the men to keep their child brides with them. And the reason given is that the kids that are with them will only trust, their molesters. And if you know anything about pedophilia, you would know that the kids don't trust their molesters. The kids need to be safely kept somewhere away from them, given counseling to try to heal. These injustices are very upsetting. And then to see the people that what you would call social justice warriors are, siding with Islamists that are committing these horrors is very disheartening. What you're seeing now in the U.S. is we're having an argument over bathroom rights that the social justice warriors are pushing. And it's for transgenders, which are 0.3% of the population, to have laws that protect them in using the bathrooms. The thing is that what happens is pedophilias and rapists will also claim to be transgender in order to gain access to their victims. So in two instances here, you're seeing social justice warriors shield pedophiles, which there's nothing remotely resembling justice in relation to that. When somebody does speak out against Islam, the social justice warrior crawls out and starts calling the person speaking out all sorts of names. You're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, and all this stuff, in order to shut down any free speech. If you try discussing with them why you have concerns, you cannot use logic. It doesn't register with them. You cannot give examples. If you say, there's a problem with the teachings of Islam, they're like, well, you hate all Muslims. That is not the case. And actually, the people who are speaking out about the oppression that they see, the injustices, it's because they care about the people this impacts. And this impacts a lot of Muslims. Child brides, they're Muslim. Okay? I haven't heard, any woman come forward and say, oh yes, I really enjoyed being a child bride and it was just wonderful. I've heard them lament the beatings, the fact that it's a horrible life, that they can't go on with their education, that they are oppressed, that they don't count. You have some of the girls that are child brides will set themselves on fire to get out of it. So, any criticism of Islam is not because of hate, is not because you don't care about Muslims or you hate Muslims. It's because you care about people. You want them to have a good life. You want them to have freedom. You don't want to see them oppressed. Trying to shut down free speech, trying to, call people knowingly. You're knowingly calling people false labels in order to shut down any conversation. That, to me, makes you just about as bad as the people that are throwing acid in women's faces, that are committing pedophilia, that are doing this sort of stuff, because you are trying to silence anybody that speaks out so that you can go back to your safe space and pretend like you did something while really all you did was help the abusers get away with what they're doing. If you're, you know, I view when somebody does that sort of thing, I view them as a coward. You want to try to pretend like you're helping because you need to feel good about yourself when you're really doing more harm than good, and you're actually aiding and abetting some pretty horrific human rights violations. So my take is, look, if you're not going to stand up and really, think about what's going on and really truly help people who are oppressed, it's not necessary for you to do that. But then don't get in the way of those that do speak out, that do want to help. Just go about your business. It's not required for you to get involved if you're too afraid, too busy, or you don't understand the issues. Don't get involved. Let the people who really care move forward and try to, get some resolutions done to help people that are oppressed. At this point, there are some Muslims that are claiming that they're trying to reform Islam. There was a gentleman that was an ex-Muslim. I can't remember his name, but he had said that, you can't reform Islam. It started in violence. It has always been violent. It always will be violent. And in reading things with, Muhammad's life, he's the perfect Muslim. You're supposed to follow him. He was the ultimate jihadist, and that's who they're supposed to emulate their lives after. So, I can see this ex-Muslim's point that it won't ever be reformed. But what we can try to do is, with people who are starting to recognize the issues with Islam, we can offer them support. We can try to offer them help. But trying to silence them is not helping. Trying to silence people that are helping them, it does not do any justice for any human rights. So, I would just like to say to people, if you're really wanting to find a way to help people, instead of calling people names, instead of insulting people that don't agree with your views, maybe sit down and listen to how they got to the conclusions they got to. If they have suggested reading material or somebody to follow or listen to, it might be a good idea to try to listen. I know that when I'm given a viewpoint that's different from mine, I do try to pay attention to what they're saying. I do try to listen and not out of hand reject anything or, call them names. Unfortunately, what I have found is with certain people that want to see themselves as social justice warriors, that doesn't go over too well. You try to listen to what they say, and then when you can point out, why you think they're wrong, they just get angry, call you names, storm off in a huff, and I guess go back to their safe space. So, I don't know if I'm going to get through to any of them, because really what I want them to understand is, if you're going to speak out about something, you need to gain an education, not just go on feelings, because we would all love the world to be one big happy family and nobody fighting and nobody being oppressed and nobody being murdered and nobody being molested and children focusing on school and having a childhood. We would all love that. Well, most of us would love that. But that is just not the reality. And to try to pretend that that is will never get us to where we want to be. Trying to pretend that we have this perfect world when we have all these horrors going on is not going to get us to that solution, to where we want to be. We want to be in a place where children are safe. We want to be in a place where children can gain their education, where when somebody grows up and decides to get married, they're marrying somebody that they love and that they want to be with. That's where we want to get to. So we just please stop shouting down people. Please stop calling people who are trying to do good work names. And if you doubt what they're saying, and they could say, here's where I read it, or here's where I saw it, follow through. Look at it. And if you still disagree, at least come back with a rational argument of why you disagree. Because then they can listen to you, and you can have a discussion and maybe come to a better solution.